Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Predicting Tranquility. Sorry for the. Oh my gosh. I forgot to mute the Twitch stream. Sorry for the slight delay. A couple of us were running behind on scrims. I literally ran. Well, it wasn't just you, Choi. I was also running up until 10 o'clock. So,
And I'm not on a
um,
team.
but we're here. Troy's back on the cast, back from where were you last week? Was it Mexico?
Mexico, Cancun.
Nice. So we got Troy back, and then Dexatron is joining us again. So it should be pretty fun. And if you're new to Predicting Tranquility, if you don't know what this show is about, what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be predicting all of the matches, all 84 teams, all 42 matches. So it should be a ton of fun. Let's just send it straight in because we started a little bit late. So let's just dive right into Harmony Orem A. What do we have in this pool, Dex?
Well, our first matchup of the week in Orem A is the Gana Gatekeepers versus Clairvoyance there. As you can see, I'm the only person not to pick Clairvoyance. I imagine we're going to end up talking about that here in a moment. Your next matchup is Ragnarok Freya versus the Colorado Carbon. Again, probably another matchup that will be brought up here in a moment since I'm the only person picking against the other two. But then from here on out, we all do pick the same teams. The next game is Basement Dwellers versus the Council. And wrapping up here is Aimbots versus Origuri here. But, like I said, I imagine we're going to get into those first two matchups here because, as I said, I'm the only one to pick against what you guys picked.
Yeah, I think so. The one that I'm a little bit more interested in, because I think that this one's a bit closer, is the Ragnarok Freya versus Colorado Carbon. On paper, that seems like it would just be Freya. But Freya have kind of been struggling a little bit, and Colorado Carbon have they've shown signs of life, at least in their matchup against the Council a couple weeks back. So is there like something you think that's giving Carbon the edge here, or what was your thought process here?
Just looking over everything, looking at the team's results and looking at the team's rosters, honestly, the biggest thing came down to me was the Carbon last week. I believe they won their game last week, and like that kind of was the signifying thing. Like they finally got over that hump, and I think they won it 4-0 too, which
That was week 2. That was week 2.
Yeah, that was back against the Council.
Oh, my bad then. Well, already way off here, but I think I think the Carbon, they're gonna bounce back from their loss last week, I guess, here against Freya. And like you said, Freya not necessarily looking themselves here at the moment.
Gotcha. All right. Any thoughts on this pool, Troy?
This pool not very strong. I'll be real.
Yeah.
I to be honest, I think Onigiri and Clairvoyance are getting a bit of a boost, like when it comes to top 8 and things like this from this group, because it's not a great group.
Yeah.
Overall.
That's definitely fair. It's an interesting group. I think this is like the pool with the most newcomer teams. Or at least Gehenna had competed in the past, but they didn't compete last season. And then like Onigiri is like a rebranded team and whatever. So this is a very all over the place pool. That's kind of what the narrative has been since week 1. But yeah, definitely will be interesting to see how these teams play out in stage 2, when they're in a pool that isn't all like a mess, I guess. So yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But that pretty much covers it. So let's move on to Orem B. What do we have in this pool, Troy?
All right, we got Luminous Foxes versus Acceleration. Everyone going for Luminous Foxes. Then we have Polish Champ versus Pew Pew Plunderers. Everyone going 4-0 for Polish Champ. Doodles versus Flashbacks. Nerf's going for Flashbacks, but both of us going for Doodles for this one. Then Chicago Mafia versus Positively Aggressive. Everyone going for Chicago Mafia. I think the Doodles Flashbacks game is actually quite a banger.
It is. I think so. And it came to me in a vision last night that not really, I just talked to Capital for like 10 minutes. But I kind of decided that, you know what, I feel it with Flashbacks. I feel like this is gonna be their week. They have Pasty back officially. He'll be scrimming with the team and stuff, or he'll have been scrimming with the team. They'll they've been scrimming full team. They'll have the full team for the match and everything. So I think hopefully everything will be lining up for Flashbacks here. And I think that maybe they can take a Doodles team who might be a little over cocky at the moment.
I was actually flipping back and forth with the 3-1 here. I think I just flipped a coin. I googled flip a coin and it chose Doodles. because flashbacks are scrim gods, and then
Mm-hmm.
they just flounder.
Yeah.
They just flop in match. It happens every
Mm-hmm.
time. They roll GP in scrim, and then they just die in match, and they nearly get
Yeah.
reversed up by Chicago Mafia and stuff. So flashbacks, you better prove me wrong and stuff, because I like you.
Yeah, and I'm the only one here who kind of thinks Doodles is not really going to drop off that much here. Yeah, flashbacks are getting a player back, but like you said, it's their first week back. Yeah, they're scrimming, but I just don't think. I think it'll take them about a week or two to get back into the normal rotation of everything and just back to a real competitive setting. And scrims to a certain point aren't necessarily the biggest deal breaker or biggest competitive space. They're just places for teams to try stuff out and just keep working on their comps.
Yeah, I mean, I've been fooled by scrimbucks in the past. So definitely not always the best thing to buy into the scrimbucks.
Yeah.
But mhm. But yeah, I believe in the flashbacks this week. I think that I'll do it this time. I believe that the scrimbucks will pay off, and if Doodles win this time, then for the rest of the season I will never bet against them. Because I did it twice in a row, and then I would have been wrong both times.
Never bet against them.
Someone clip that.
I will very likely not be predicting against Doodles for the rest of the season, anyways. Win or lose here. So, but that pretty much covers it. That's the closest match, I think. Definitely watch that match. It'll be very close.
That'll be great. Yeah.
It'll be a fun one to watch. Definitely something I anticipate talking about on Bronze Banter. So let's go over then to Indigo A. Here we have the Koala Kings getting a bye. So the first match is Swordfish versus Chrysalis. Swordfish in their debut, really it's just a matter of whether or not we think that the team who hasn't played yet, whether or not they'll come out swinging or not. I'm the only one going for Swordfish here in a 3-2. Dex is going for the opposite score, 3-2 in favor of Chrysalis, and Choi going for 3-1 for Chrysalis. Geometric coming off of a very strong win against Koala Kings, everybody giving them the 4-0 over Makos here. And then the last match is Insidious versus the Fighting Potatoes. I think Insidious are very strong. They've just had a really tough strength of schedule. So I went with the 4-0. Choi on my side, but giving Fighting Potatoes a map. And Dexatron in favor of the Potatoes here. Thinking they'll get their first, I think actually their first actual win. Because I believe both their wins so far have been forfeit matches. Yeah. So yeah, do either of you have strong opinions on Swordfish Chrysalis? Because it's really interesting since Swordfish haven't played yet.
So sometimes when I give the benefit of the doubt to teams based on how the other team is doing, so like I give the benefit of the doubt. I think I did it to I don't remember. I gave it to some Basement Dwellers in week 1. Didn't see them play at all, and then I gave them the benefit of the doubt and I gave them the win and they lost. So I'm just going the opposite for this one.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and like I said, it's their first time actually playing, so I don't truly necessarily know what this team's going to be like. I don't know if they're going to be a really good team, really bad team, or somewhere in the middle. That's why I kind of teetered on that 3-2 scoreline. Eventually, Chrysalis would take it, but I just don't necessarily think Swordfish are going to fully put everything together here in their first real showing.
Definitely fair. I think that dropping Red Mudkip a couple weeks back, and then I don't believe they have a replacement. Maybe there's someone on the team already. I haven't been watching a ton of Chrysalis codes. However, they're another interesting team. They went to 5 against Makos and lost there. And then I believe they got 2 forfeit wins. 1 to come, which is why it says 2-2. Maybe it's not. I don't know what's going on with that. Why it says 2-2. But I believe they have a forfeit win coming up. They had a forfeit win already, and no, maybe they don't. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I think Chrysalis have been a little interesting. Definitely not anything unbeatable by Swordfish's standards. So hoping that in the debut they can show off and hopefully get the win. But let's go over to Indigo B. Stop my rambling about this match because obviously I don't know what I'm talking about with Chrysalis. So what do we have in Indigo B Dex?
Well, first matchup here in Indigo B, we're all going the same way. Fire Breathing Rubber Duckies over Mets Gaming. We're all went the same score too, 3-1. So just based off normal how it goes in traditional sports, congrats Mets on the win there. Disclosing and Galactic Penguins is your next game. Again, we're going the same way here with the same team, but we're scores all across the board on this one. Next series is Strix and the Jersey Boys, who Jersey Boys team that was put into the top 8 this week. Strix, another team in the top 8 as well. So really good matchup, but we're all going with the Strix here in this one. And then final one is Evanescence versus Aries. I'm the only one here that believes in Evanescence. I'm going to figure out why here in a moment.
For Nate, Eminence just hasn't shown much, so
Yeah,
they kind of just get owned, and that's the end of that.
I think Aries has shown signs of life, especially against they went to 5
Mets.
against Mets, but they
Yeah.
also then they took some maps off of somebody else. I don't remember who it was.
Let me check.
I think they took maps off of somebody else. But they've at least shown signs of life, whereas I think we're still waiting to see that from Evidence this season. So
They
that
have
was kind of
not
where
taken
they have
first
not
round
taken.
Mets.
Okay. Was it a 4-0 against Disclosed? Was that what their
Yeah.
other match that wasn't against? Okay. So then they got 4-0 as well against GP last week. But I think Disclosed and GP are both very solid teams. GP like an obvious like top 5 team. But I think Disclosed as well are definitely my dark horse this season. They've been impressing me a lot. So I think 4-0s against those two teams isn't the worst thing in the world. I just think that Aries has done more to impress me than Eminence has so far. So
Yeah, and I'm looking back at it now. This might be definitely one of the things where I might have put the wrong score in for the teams. But you know what? I'll ride with Evanescence in this one. I think I believe that they're gonna get their first win this week here.
Eminence dub.
Eminence, yeah, there's gonna be a huge Eminence dub, a huge upset here for them. I'm riding with them. I don't care if I messed up.
Yeah, I want to touch on the Strix Jersey Boys game. I think that's a banger.
I think it is, yeah.
I think they're both pretty good teams. I think Strix's schedule has been pretty easy so far, though. With the only good game being FBRD, which they also 3-1. So, you know, it's kind of similar to GP 3-1. What's it called? GP 3-1 FBRD, and then now Strix 3-1 FBRD. So, you know, a 3-1 or a 3-2 would make sense for Jersey Boys.
Yeah, I think Strix and GP are very similar teams. And I think this will honestly be the one to prove it because I very strongly believe that Jersey Boys are gonna take Strix to 5, and it'll be exact mirrors of exactly what has been going on in the GP camp. So I have a lot of faith in Strix. I have a lot of faith in Jersey Boys as well. They've been definitely improving a lot throughout the course of the season. So yeah, I think this is going to be definitely another really, really close match. Definitely one to keep your eye on.
Yeah.
All right, so that pretty much covers it for Harmony Indigo B. Before we go, I just do want to say, keep an eye on Disclosed as well because, like I said, I think they're a solid team, and I think that it might not be as one-sided as you might expect against GP. Although I'm sure Choi definitely wants.
I think I'm going off scrim results. We've been kind of cleaning up our act, and we have new comps, we have new everything. So
Gotcha.
I think we'll just come in and roll.
All right. Well, maybe not. But I still am a Disclosed believer, so we'll see. I don't think they'll win, but I think it'll be close. But moving up to the Discord here, what do we have in Orem A Choi?
All right, Norway, we have Tampa Bay Tryhards getting a bye. And then we have Wildfire vs Space Created, everyone going on the side of Space Created. Reminiscence vs Pukin Dogs. Dex is giving the first map that Rem has dropped to Pukin Dogs. And then we have Thunder Duckies vs MI7. And again, MI7 taking another map loss according to Dex.
Those scores are backwards on stream. I don't know if that's like that on the sheet.
No, I'm reading sheet.
Yeah, no, they're backwards on stream.
Yeah, they're only backwards on stream. Sorry about that. I don't know why that is.
Only the last game is backwards.
Only
games 2 and 3 are the right way. Game 4, the scores are backwards.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that.
Hashtag Thunder Duckies win.
Yeah, hashtag Thunder Duckies win, I guess.
Hashtag TD win.
That'll be a huge victory for the Duckies. MI7 will be dropping in the rankings after that one. Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, I think Dex, is there anything specific you see in Pukin Dogs to give them the map? Take the first map off of Rem.
I was just looking at their past results. Really, I haven't been able to really put a lot of time into watching any scrims from them, but
Mhm,
I feel like in these past couple games they've been slowly building up a little bit and just getting a little bit
mhm,
better every game. I think last week they actually got their first win, if I'm right. I know
Took
they
their
have a
first loss.
Pukin Dogs.
Yeah, I believe they got reverse swept by Thunder Duckies.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then their standings are wrong here because it says they're 1-2.
Let me see.
I think they got their first win in week 1. I believe that was against, I want to say, Wildfire. But I'm not too sure on that one.
Yeah, they 4-0 Wildfire.
Yeah.
They lose to Space Created. They lose to Thunder Duckies.
Mhm.
Okay, then let me say this. It feels like one of these games that Reminiscence is good. It's just gonna try to have some fun. Map
Oh, he
4.
knows Reminiscence. He knows Reminiscence.
Yeah, Reminiscence is just gonna have some fun. Map 4, and the Pukin
3-4.
Dogs or Pucket Dogs are just gonna be able to
No.
just take Map 4 off of a Reminiscence team that at the point doesn't necessarily care. They already have the win.
Classic Reminiscence Esperanza moment.
I will pinky promise you. I will pinky promise you that Rem will attempt their hardest to throw map 3. They will get bored and they will try their hardest to throw it. It's just up to them if they mechanically skill it.
Um, yeah, I think this is a pretty standard pool. I thought there were like I thought there were 3 teams on top, and then like one fighting for the 2 teams were fighting for the um third spot. That was Pukin Dogs and Space Created. I think Space Created definitely proved who's on top of that one. The Thunder Duckies are kind of sneaking in there now. But I think it's still the Rem and MI7 pool.
Yep.
Thankfully next week we'll get to see those 2 play against each other for the
Mm.
97th time. But yeah, for now definitely a lot of one-sided matches. I think at least 2 of them so far. But moving over to Orem B, which is I think a very interesting pool. First match we have here is Loki versus Culture. Everybody giving the win over to Loki. The next one is Jellyfish versus Paradise Lost, and yeah, this time I'm not going to be feeding the bias. Paradise Lost are insane, and Jellyfish are going through a little bit of like struggles right now, so I'll give Paradise Lost this one. And then the next match and the final match because Trig has a bye this week is Royal Throne versus Redacted. Mixed scores all over the place. I went with a 3-2 in favor of Redacted. I don't know why. I feel like these 2 teams are they very much have stuff to prove still. I don't think either of them have like any quality wins or any like major losses. I think they're still playing so we can figure out where we still have to figure out where they're at.
Mhm.
Dex went for a 3-2 in favor of Royal Throne, and Troy as well going in favor of the Royal Throne. A little bit less close though. And I guess if there's a match to talk about, it would be that one.
Yeah.
I just think these 2 teams still have to figure out where they're at. But that might just be me.
I'm just going off that Redacted haven't got a real win yet. They got the
That's true.
Team 30 bye.
Mhm.
And Royal Throne 4-0 Culture, and Culture aren't that bad, so
Mhm.
yeah, I'm just going off that.
Yeah, kind of the same thing. Same thing for me. That's why I went 5 maps on this one. I feel like it'll be a close game. I feel like Redacted and or Royal Throne in the end will just end up squeaking out with the win. Redacted still only having played 2 real games, still trying to figure out themselves right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, another thing I want to touch on, Rag Loki has actually surprised me. Looking at that
Yeah.
roster sheet, I didn't think they would be that great. I know they have a couple like Harmony players that are moving
Mhm.
up. I have to remind myself of the roster, but like I saw it and I was like, at beginning of season, I thought they would be kind of mid, like not that great. But then they took a map of Trig, and I was like, oh okay. And then they forward with them. I'm like, oh okay. They drop a map to Jellyfish, but they still get the win. I'm like, oh okay, they're solid. They're
Yeah.
not that bad.
Yeah, they're definitely impressing me a lot more than the the like stories I had heard about them in the preseason. They're improving a lot. They look really really strong right now. Um, I still think they're below Trig in Paradise Lost, but I think
Yeah,
that they're definitely fighting for that C pool spot. And honestly, C pool isn't that bad. That's pretty good, I
it's
would
good this
say.
season. Yeah,
Mhm. I was talking to Bernie about it earlier because he was wondering like what that meant, and I'm like I would kind of compare like a C pool to like an upper B pool team from previous seasons.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think definitely not a bad spot for Loki.
Mhm.
Moving then over to Indigo A. What do we have in this pool, Dex?
Well, first series here in Indigo A is Adrenaline versus the Beat Drop Bears there. Again, probably gonna be a match we talk about because I'm the only person picking differently in this one. Then you have Avalon and Wildwind there. We're all going with Avalon. Just different scores coming out from two of us there. Then it's Blobfish and UV Rays. Uh, Again, two of us going the way of Blobfish, one going the way of UV Rays, and then the final one to wrap up this tier or this group here is the Wild Catboys versus Maelstrom, and we're again going all the one way here, going the way of the Wild Catboys. But I feel like the one that we're going to immediately focus out on is the Beat Drop Bears and Adrenaline, and why I chose Adrenaline.
If you want to go ahead with that, then yeah.
I mean, I'm choosing a team that's currently 1-2, going up against a team that's 3-0. So again, this might be a little bit of a mistake on my part,
Ah.
reading some stuff wrong. But again, I'll own up to it and still ride with Adrenaline here.
Well, I'll tell
Uh,
you, I have the sauce. Nabino said that they are missing two of their players, so they're missing
Mhm.
Twists and they're missing what's it called? And they're missing Sensa. So they're missing
Adrenaline or
Twist,
Beat Drop?
Beat Drop. They're missing two players, and
All right
so
then.
Beat Drop are one of two teams. Rem and Beat Drop are the two teams that haven't dropped the map yet, and so I'm giving Beat Drop their first map loss of the season, leaving only Rem. Um, I think that's just because not necessarily because the players that are subbing in are bad. Like I love English. English is the goat, but
Mhm.
I think it won't be normal, right? It won't be
Yeah.
what they practice or whatever. So
Mhm.
Yeah, but even with that two players missing now, like that even kind of makes me lean into this pick a little bit more with Adrenaline. Just I really like this pick now. I'm ready for some chaos to happen. I'm ready for an ultimate upset to take place here, and I would love to see Adrenaline be that team that causes it.
I mean, Adrenaline definitely played to their competition. They've gone to 5 3 weeks in a row. Um, and I mean, right here, with Beat Drop, missing some players, maybe that could be their chance to pounce. I mean, Guangzhou did it a couple weeks ago where they only had like two of their actual rostered players come to the match and they still 4-0'd.
they own
So what's stopping Beat Drop from doing the same here? That's my
Reborn
thought
win.
process.
Reborn Swifters win.
Well, Reaper's not on that team anymore, so
Yeah,
yeah.
gods of coaching.
Um, um. So yeah, I think I'm very impressed with Beat Drop, and they'll still have a main support who's rostered at least. It won't be like a ringer. They'll just have somebody like not their starter on the playing for the team. So not the most dire situation. I still have a lot of faith in Beat Drop here.
Mm.
But yeah. Anything else? This is a very tight pool. So is there any other matches we want to talk about in here?
Um, do we want to talk about UV Rays and Blobfish because that's the only other match in this pool that one of us differs from
Yeah,
the rest of us?
I'll
Okay.
just say my take that UV Rays they run some silly comps.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that just I don't know. Both again, I put 2-3. I could see this going either way.
Yeah.
I really don't know. I don't watch enough of their codes because they
Mhm.
just lose and it makes me sad. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I casted their game last week against, I believe it was the Wild Catboys, and like you said, they come out on some really weird comps, but they always somehow tend to at least make it a little bit interesting.
yeah,
Hmm.
But the biggest thing that I saw from the Wild Catboys last week going up against the UV Rays is the Wild Catboys immediately would recognize what kind of comp they were playing, lose that team fight, go back to spawn, swap up their entire comp, come back out, and immediately roll over UV Rays, and UV Rays would just never swap off of that original comp. So just one of those things that immediately made me just pick against them this week.
Mm-hmm. I just went with strength of schedule. I think that Blobfish have had a harder strength of schedule. UV Rays has played, I guess you could call it weaker teams. And they haven't looked as good. Whereas Blobfish have played, in my opinion, stronger teams, and they've put up more of a fight. So that was my thought process behind this match. But again, I could see this going either way. I know Clem's very high on the main support from UV Rays. But then again, it's main support, so it's kind of a cosmetic role coming from a main support myself. So yeah.
Another thing, I just want to touch on the Wildcat Boys Maelstrom game. I think
Sure.
that's going to be a great game, actually.
I think it will, yeah.
I think that's a pretty good game. Maelstrom's Brawl is really good, and Wildcat Boys just, I think, are a pretty decent team, pretty good team. Hashtag Hear Us Roar, or Hear Us Meow, I mean.
Who's Hear Us Roar?
I have no clue. Pride?
Katy Perry?
Maybe. Oh, maybe that. I don't know. I feel like there's like maybe it's like Lads or Soul. Like I don't know. I feel like I recognize that.
Oh, Hear Us. Actually, don't know. It'd
I don't
probably
know.
be Soul because Gladys shields up.
Yeah, true. Maybe somebody out there. I don't know. But yeah, I think Maelstrom are definitely not a team to sleep on. They're very sneaky. I think that they're my dark horse of this tier. Because you never know. They're in a tough pool with Avalon, B Drop, and Wildcat Boys. Those are all three really great teams, but I think that they're a team to watch out for next stage. Definitely. So. But with that out of the way, let's move on to Indigo B. What do we have here, Choi?
All right, we got Tempest got a bye. We get Air versus Phoenix. Everyone going 3-1 for Phoenix. We have Poseidon versus Pride. Me and Nerf's going for Pride, but Dextron going for Poseidon. And then everyone going for CC 4-0 over Spuds.
What's your thought process on Poseidon? I guess Dex, because I think the rest of this pool is pretty standard. Yeah, do you see something in Poseidon?
I mean, I've casted Poseidon a couple times last season, so I'm going based off what I saw from them last season a little bit, and not necessarily so much what I've seen from them this season, but just looking at their roster and looking at their the games they've played so far, I felt like their roster is better than what their record currently is, and I felt like I think they got their. Did they get their first win last week over because of the Team 32? Or was it a 4-0 for someone?
It was definitely a Team 32 win, but it was a couple weeks back, I think.
I think, okay, so I think just looking over their games from what I could see, they were not winning them, but they were at least taking a map off of people. And I honestly just kind of think this is the week that they put everything together. Pride is a really good team. I will admit that. Like, this was a tough one for me, but like I think Poseidon, they just need a couple weeks to get used to it and get used to everything with this new season. I feel like this is a good week for them to kind of bounce back and find that first win, or find that first true win against a team.
Gotcha. Definitely a possibility. I don't want to talk about it, but I do want to highlight the Cosmic Castaways versus SEAL Team Spuds match. I'm
Shout out
hoping it's
Magic Otter.
Yeah, Magic Otter is my goat.
I spotted him. That's why I'm saying that.
Oh. I'll be casting that match on Thursday. And I'm hoping it's not very one-sided. I think Spuds definitely could pull some stuff out. Maybe take a map. But I think Castaways have impressed me a ton this season. So, yeah. But I think with that out of the way, let's move on to the Transcendence tier. So the first pool we have is Aurum. We have Devil Dukes versus Oath. All of us in favor of the Devil Dukes 4-0. And the next match is Reckless Delta against Guangzhou Gangsters. Again, all 4-0s. And here's where the interesting match is, because it's not one of the top 3 teams against a lesser like tier team. It's Fleet Angels versus Nightmare Outlaws. Both 1 and 2 teams. Both, I think, Fleet Angels have been on the up and up since week 1. And I think Nightmare Outlaws have also been improving a ton. So I think this is an interesting match. I went with a 3-1, and Troy's on my side with a 4-0 in favor of the Fleet Angels. But Dex going for the 2-3 in favor of Nightmare Outlaws, which judging by some of their previous performances the last couple weeks, they took Devil Dukes to 5. I could definitely see it happening. So what are our thoughts on this match?
Oh,
I just want to say, so for what it's the Fleet Angels one, right?
Mm.
Yeah.
So Fleet Angels take a map from Guangzhou. No other
Mhm.
team has.
Yeah,
That's it.
that was my thought process. Yeah,
That's it.
I think that they're definitely looking really strong off
Another
that.
thing, they did a couple of roster transactions, so they got in Vegas from like
Mhm.
the FBRD org. That's kind
Mhm.
of the region he was floating in, and they get rid of the main support, the false LCS, the fake LCS, and then they sorry, and then I think that's just crazily improves them,
Mhm.
because Vegas is the goat. That's it.
yeah, and reason why, like, so truly, the only reason I'm going with the Nightmare Outlaws here, I went against them last week, came back to bite me, and
Mhm.
but honestly, I watched their game last week because it was one of the stream games, and the more I watched this team, the more I really started to like how they played and just everything about it. And yeah, Fleet Angels only want to take a map off Guangzhou this season. I just don't necessarily think that, like, yeah, it's impressive, but I don't think it matters going into this game here because teams can always watch and figure out what one team did to win a specific map or a game against another team. But I think every game is a brand new game, so there's going to be different ways that teams play it. I just think the Nightmare Outlaws looked incredibly good last week, and I think they're going to continue this week, continue on with that momentum from last week this week.
Like I said, both teams definitely have a lot of momentum. Both teams definitely on the up and up. And I think that this will be probably a pretty good match. Although I am definitely heavily in favor of Fleet Angels because, like you said, I think that map against Guangzhou says a lot. Um, is next week Guangzhou versus Devil Dukes? I think it is. It has to be, right? Because we've
Let me see.
seen. I think it has to be because they're
Yeah.
both 3
It's
0
Guangzhou
still.
versus Delta, and then it's week
Oh,
5. They
that's
have
this week. Oh yeah, next week. Yeah. This one. That'll be a banger.
yeah,
So I'm
that'll be a
looking
really good
forward
game.
to that. But yeah, for now we have this, which should be pretty interesting. But moving on to the Azure pool, what do we have in this? Dextron.
3 series here, starting off with Classified versus Hammerhead. All of us going the way of Hammerhead here. Your next series is Amnesia versus Just Better Inc. All of us going Amnesia. And then you have the Wyverns versus the Hades. And this is the only game where we all didn't go the same way. We
Oh,
see.
mine is flipped.
Yeah,
Oh,
yours is definitely flipped, and that one's actually on me this time.
so did we all go the same way in that game,
Yeah,
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 we
actually?
yeah.
went same way.
Okay, so 3 series in this one, we all went the same way, and really, it doesn't seem like any of us really gave any team a any big chance here. Yeah, a couple of us did say that the losing team would take a map, but none of us said it would potentially go 5.
Yeah, I know Choi, and I mean we'll see it in the next poll, but I know Choi has only given one map to any of the other
Yeah.
any of the
I
losing
feel like
trans
this is
teams.
a roll week. This is a roll week. Everyone's getting owned this week.
I think personally, like I mean, Amnesia have yet to 4-0. So have Hammerhead. I was debating giving Wyverns the 4-0, but the loss against Hammerhead maybe says something about struggles. I don't know. But I think that uh I don't know. I don't think it'll be as one-sided. I think there will be maps dropped. But yeah, obviously, Choi does not.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I mean, you're
do,
right though. Like Amnesia and Hammerhead love dropping. They just love tossing one map for
yeah.
no reason. So maybe I was wrong, but I don't
And
know.
I mean Hades as well. Like they're on the exact opposite end, where they just love taking maps off of
They
every single
love taking
team.
one map.
They'll take one map, and
Hmm.
that's enough for them.
Yeah.
Um,
The small victories every week,
yeah, that's what matters.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So like, I mean, let's just like reveal it. Let's go on to Indigo. So you can see that yes, only one map is given to losing teams by
Yup.
Choi. So what do we have there, Choi?
Billings versus Hivemine. Me and Dex going for Billings, but no bias going towards
No bias, not at all.
Hivemine.
None.
Singularity versus Frostnova. Everyone going for Singularity. Then we got Throwing a Bad versus Revital. Me and Dex going for Throwing a Bad, and Nerfed going for Revital. I think that's obviously I gave it the one map, so I think that's the best game. Um, I think it's a good game too because Revital just did a roster swap, which is
Mhm.
actually why I'm not giving them the win. Whereas
Yeah.
previous to the week, I think I would have given them the win, but
Mhm.
but I think with confusing roster stuff, it'll cause was it turbulence in their
Mhm.
team.
So in the Revital match against Throwing Our Bad last week, who they dropped? They dropped Tissue and someone else.
Let me check.
Uh, I know neither of those players were the ones who like immensely impressed me in that match. And they still have Raijin. They still have Raijin, and that's I think he's their best player, and I think that'll do a lot for them because Raijin was out for a lot of the match last week. I think he'll be back this week probably, hopefully. So yeah. And then yeah, obviously a little bit of bias at the top, but I'll say this here, and then I want boomers, all of you, to clip it and like send it, put it in the next like MI7 was marketable. There was a lot of like Gibbons slander. Let's do some Hive Mind slander, and it's all me. But like I said with Jellyfish that they were gonna get 4-0'd. I'll say I think that I only will be biased against my teams when there's a little bit of merit there, just a little pinch of merit. And I think Hive Mind have been improving a lot, so who knows? Maybe it could be a lot closer than people would expect. um,
Yeah,
my
but like
coping out of the way.
to be honest, I think Billings are just one of the best teams in
I
Trans.
think so too. I think so
So
too. And it's a lot of it's like I said, that's a lot of bias.
Toasty Toast is just the best Zarya of
Yeah.
2015. Like,
Mhm.
yeah,
Of 2015.
yeah.
But yeah, that covers all the matches, and I finally got my bias out of the way.
I think your bias is starting to rub off on me a little bit there. I don't like. I think that's the only reason I decided that
went
that
for the
series was going to go
5.
5 there.
Oh.
So it's starting to rub off a little bit. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
Give it a couple more weeks and I'll have you predicting Hive Mind over Guangzhou and Luminous over like GP or something like that.
You won't get me that far. It won't rub off that much.
But yeah, that's all our matches. So the final segment we're gonna do here really quickly is we're gonna look at the top 5 scorers from this week. So for this week in 5th place we have Private Ryan, with 55 points, and then in 4th place is me with 57 points. 3rd place is Capital, finally rising up the rankings with 59 points. And then in 1st place is a tie, Wooly and the reigning champ Fish. Wooly went insane, and then Fish also like did nuts. But that's kind of to be expected since he's been on top all season so far. But yeah, this was a lot higher scoring of a week than normal. I think scores were like on average like 7 higher, which is pretty good. What'd you
I
say?
told Ryan last week he did not need to worry about having a bad score week. I
Yeah,
was here.
Ryan was worried about getting bad scores, but he did really good this week, so congrats to him. And then for the all-time scorers, in 5th place we have me, with 164 points. In 3rd place is a tie with Capital and Tyler, both at 165. Capital finally finding his footing and rising up the rankings, like I said. And then 2nd place is Wooly. That 1st place sent him rising up the rankings with 169. And then by far and away ahead of everybody else, I said his name already, is Fish with 187 points. Just absolutely in utter dominance of the tier so far, or of the prediction so far. But that covers it. That's all the matches. That is all the leaderboards. If you want to get into the competition, the predictions form is in live contest discussion as well as tournament discussion in the Tranquility Discord. I think Yeti linked to it in a couple channels, so definitely go check it out. It's a ton of fun. But yeah, with everything else out of the way, I'll go over really quickly what we have for the rest of the week in terms of what to watch. So tomorrow is the Harmony tier feature, Onigiri versus Aimbots. I think that'll be a very good match. I think I think that'll be a good one. And then immediately following, Troy will be back with Silver Slander, covering the in-depths of the Discord tier. On Wednesday, we have the Transcendence feature of Hades versus Wyverns. And then on Thursday is the Discord feature of SEAL Team Spuds versus Cosmic Castaways. Like I said, I'll be there to cast that one. Hopefully, it'll be a really good match. And then on Saturday we have Bronze Banter again, and then Sunday is After Scrims tonight with Lord Thuggington himself. And then like every week, next Monday is predicting right after the Iris. So thank you all so much for watching. We'll be back at the same time, same place next week. Have a wonderful week and good luck predicting.
Bye bye.